Hi there, welcome to InSTEM. In today's interview, I'm going to be speaking to Mimi Nwosu. Mimi is a multi-award-winning civil engineer who is very passionate about promoting civil engineering as well as STEM to the next generation. In today's interview, I'm going to be talking to her about a journey into engineering as well as how she navigates the industry as a young engineer. I hope you enjoy watching. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming along today, Mimi, to share your engineering story with the InSTEM audience. Really excited to speak to you. I know that it's going to be a fun interview already. So, but before we delve into your story, I'd like to start with an icebreaker question. And here's my question to you. If you had to become an expert at something at a scale, or otherwise, what would it be and why?
An expert at skill. I actually don't know, you know.
It took me some time to think about it this morning when I was thinking about asking the same question.
Wait, if I could be really skillful at something, what would it be?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I've thought of it. Right. If I could be skilled at something, it would be languages. I think languages are like the key to the soul. Like communication is very important in our society. So if I could have the ability to learn language quickly or have some sort of superpower to understand them all just by hearing one word, then it'll be a great way to communicate around the world and communicate with other people, especially in the world that we're living in now where, for example, science communication is extremely important. I read an article the other day that most of them is done in English. So you're trying to tell me that half the people who are reading this don't understand it. So, and I think it's that lack of knowledge and lack of transfer of information. So if I could understand all languages, I would just ensure that communication is more efficient.
Is there any particular language you choose to learn?
Any particular language? Probably Mandarin.
Mandarin, okay.
And I say Mandarin because it's the language of business, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if I could, be able to speak to those who speak Mandarin, then I'd have the world at my palms.
That's a huge proportion of the world.
Exactly. I'd have the world literally in the palm of my hand, and I don't know what I'd be doing like that.
Pretty cool. So we've learned a couple of things about you, languages and Mandarin to be specific. So Mimi, I actually know you on a quite personal level, so I know a little bit about your engineering story. I know that you didn't go to university to study engineering, you had something else in mind. Yet
Yes.
You found yourself sort of stumbling across engineering. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so growing up, I always wanted a career in something that allowed me to help people. So the only career that I knew at the time was to be a doctor. So my mum is in the medical field and she had a very large influence in my life. So mum was a nurse. Well, not so much anymore, but my mum was a nurse. And I always wanted to do something exactly like that. That's the only way I knew to help people was in the medical field. So decided that I was going to edge towards the way of maybe studying medicine or something medical. Decided to do biology, chemistry, psychology, religious studies at A-level. Long story short, that didn't go too well, so I didn't really get into the degree that I wanted to study. So I went through the clearing process and studied another science degree at university. Maybe about 6 to 8 months in, I realized that this degree wasn't really for me. And then I said to myself, if I'm studying this degree that's somewhat close to medicine, if I went to medicine, I probably wouldn't like it either. So I was like, wow, I'm in a bit of a conundrum now. What do I do? So long story short, I decided to drop out of university. When I was handing in the papers to drop out, I met a friend who I'd met a few months ago. And he said, what are you doing? Out of complete embarrassment, I kind of lied and said, I'm handing in my coursework. And he said, all right, when you hand in your coursework, what are you doing after? And now at university, I have like some breaks between your lectures, right? So I had a 3-hour break. So I said, oh, okay, well, after that, I've got a 3-hour break, so I don't mind coming with you. But something stopped me from handing in that resignation that day. And I said, do you know what? I'll hand in my coursework later. And I went with him to his lecture and he studied civil engineering. And I fell in love with the design and construction of roads and bridges. The lecturer was so passionate about what he was talking about that really transcended down through the students. And then it was even a point where I wrote 4 pages of notes. That was the most notes I'd written in that whole year. And I was answering questions. I was asking questions. And the lecturer even said, I've never seen you before. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not actually in this course. I'm actually paying for this course right now. So anyway, after he said, oh, why don't you come to the front? We can have a chat after. And I did. Long story short, 15 minutes later, I changed university degree and I studied civil engineering for the next 4 years.
It's a pretty amazing story, and I really wanted you to share that because I think it's important to highlight to people as well that there are opportunities to make such moves at university as well. And yeah, don't feel confined or, feel stuck in a subject that you're paying loads of money for, but you're actually also not passionate about.
Definitely. I found it easier to actually change course whilst I was at uni than actually applying for uni normally.
I think that can tend to be the case with some courses.
Yeah. I think at that point they take your test scores from your modules that you're doing as well as your A-levels, So for someone who didn't do too well at A-level, talk about myself here, for someone who didn't do too well at A-level, it was really handy to have my university modules on the back of me as well now. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's interesting. So you are someone you're relatively young and you've spent, less than 5 years in industry?
Yeah.
But you've made such huge impact, in the engineering industry and civil engineering construction. You've won multiple awards. And yeah, you're just doing really great things. I wanted to ask, how did you find the transition from being a civil engineering student to being a working professional? And how have you been able to maximize the opportunities that's allowed you to make such huge impact in this industry?
When I was at uni, I loved my degree so much. Like, I loved my degree, I loved my lecturers, I loved my classmates. I felt the most supportive I've ever felt was when I was at university. Right. So I kind of carried that with me, and I've always wanted to make my lecturers proud because of how much effort they put into me, how much effort I put into my degree as well, and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, okay, when I go into industry, I really want to represent myself and my university. I know that people think, oh, Portsmouth University is not a Russell group, blah, blah, blah. But I had such a fantastic time at uni. So I wanted to go out into the world and show people that you don't have to come from a Russell group uni to do well. So I think the massive difference that I found from university and work was, number one, diversity. I found that when I was at uni, there was maybe more women, more Black people on my course. But then when I went to work, it wasn't really the same, especially in terms of ethnic diversity. Right. There was quite a few Black people on my course. I found myself to be the only Black person in a number of spaces, which in the beginning I thought was a bit of a problem because I didn't know how to kind of navigate the industry. I didn't really see any role models in terms of someone who looked like me. Of course, there are role models in other races, but somebody who looked like me, like, how can I say that I can go into that position if there's no one who looks like me up there, But I think what the fantastic thing about industry was that there's a lot of people who wanted to mentor me, who saw something in me, who wanted to support me along my career journey. So I took those opportunities and I said to myself, okay, if these people want to help me along the way, I'm definitely going to accept that help. And it's very much okay to ask for help. And I knew that from university. From university, I was the kind of person who didn't ask for help. I always wanted people to kind of just offer me this help without me even asking, which is not the best way to go. But university taught me that, you need to ask for help. And you need to accept that help as well. Right. So when people were asking me at work, do I need some sort of mentorship? I said, yeah, of course. And I thought it was great because I was able to set up my career goals, my career plans, say where I wanted to be in the next couple of years. And people actually gave me the experiences in order to do that. Whereas in the beginning of my career, navigating it myself, I was kind of here, there and everywhere, very unsure of how to navigate the industry, unsure who to speak to, unsure about my institution, etc., etc. But when I had a number of people who were guiding me about, I found it easier. Well, not easier, but I found it more clear, my career path and where I wanted to go and how open the civil engineering industry is, rather than just the one direction that I thought I was going to head in. So it's really good. It was really, really good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I also think mentorship is such a great resource and tool to navigate the world of work, especially when you're just rounding up your university degree. So you're a civil engineer. There are a number of different sort of specialist areas in civil engineering. Tell us about the area that you're involved with.
So throughout my engineering career, I've been involved in a number of sectors. Whilst I was at university, I really loved our material science module. And again, because our lecturers were so passionate about what they did, and it really transcended through to the students. So I decided that actually I was going to go into concrete engineering after I left uni. So I found a job in materials engineering, where I previously worked on the largest infrastructure project in Europe, HS2, where I sat in their quality department looking at concrete production and quality. So essentially, what is that? A lot of people ask me. Basically, I was making sure the concrete that we were using and the materials that were going into the concrete were good for the structures that we were building. Which was really interesting. I was able to rely on a number of skills, so data analysis, on-site management, materials testing, presentations, my use of Excel, etc., etc. So it wasn't just like my technical knowledge. I was also enhancing soft skills, some other harder skills as well, which was really good. We were building a building over railway, which obviously has its numerous challenges. So my particular role in that project is I manage a number of subcontractors. So when you build a building, obviously you build the structure. We're at the part where the building is coming to the finishing. So I look after flooring. So literally, carpet, etc., making sure the carpet's in the right place. We have the right carpet, etc. I also look after a very important subject now, passive fire protection. So I ensure that our fire protection in our building is, quality, good quality. It's actually on there. It meets all the demands of the client, etc., which is a really important phase of building construction now. So it's really an honor to actually be involved in that section. I also look after raised flooring, which is another part of the flooring system. It's really good to do that because I'm able to manage my own packages. It's a £1 million project that I'm on, one of the largest projects in our company. I work in a team of about 72. So it's not just about doing my job, how our different roles, whether we're in different departments, and how they collaborate together to actually build one project, which is really interesting. I've learned so much about design management. I've learned a lot about quantity surveying, etc., etc.
Looking back, I bet you must feel so happy that you walked into that civil engineering lecture at university.
Yeah, oh my gosh, absolutely. Like, it's really changed my life. I know people say, things say that, something's changed your life, but it really, really has. It's opened my eyes to a number of things, a number of opportunities as well. Like, I don't think I would be where I am today. Number one, without civil engineering, and number two, without the University of Portsmouth. I will always say thank you to my university because they've really made a massive impact on my life. Number one, for accepting me without having the prerequisite to study civil engineering in the first place. And number two, for supporting me the whole way of my degree. And even after university, I can still call my lecturer today if I wanted to. And if I have any issues at work, if I have any issues in anything, they'll give me some sort of advice. So I will always be grateful to my university.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Mimi, I've mentioned before that you're relatively young and you've actually not spent, 1 million years in industry so far, but you've really taken on some amazing projects, gained really great exposure as well. You're clearly a competent engineer, but as someone who's also worked in industry, I know that it's not enough to be technically grounded. And one quality that I see in you is your confidence. I think you exude such great confidence. Has this always been the case, or is it something that you've had to develop since at some point in university, or even since you started working?
No, I think growing up, I've always been quite a bubbly person. I've always, been that kind of social butterfly where I had friends here, friends there, friends everywhere kind of thing. At university, I was kind of the same. I think, when you really enjoy something, for me, when I really enjoy something, I'm quite passionate about it. So I really like to get involved, and I really like to understand, the nitty gritty of what we're doing, and really want to meet the people and see the other people in our industry and, understand how to interact with those people as well. So I think it's that. And I think it's more the communication of our industry as well. I think one thing that I noticed that actually helped me with my confidence, especially in my job and my technical abilities, was explaining our industry to other people. So something I did to, number one, increase my technical abilities and confidence, I started documenting about what I did. Coming onto podcasts like this and just talking about it. And I think that is kind of what's really important. It made me feel better as an engineer as well. I know as engineers, we always say, but am I really that technically good at this? So, there's a lot of naysayers in our industry as well, especially being a woman. And I think it's so important to kind of advocate for yourself. At the end of the day, my mum was always said to me, if you don't advocate for yourself, then no one else will. So I think visibility in our industry is very important as well. You can do all this work, but if you don't tell your manager you're doing all this work, it's gonna, stay flat. So I think it's really important to kind of talk about what you're doing, talk about what you love. Something I always say to people is talk about what you love. So that's kind of what I started doing. It kind of boosted my confidence, especially my technical abilities. Explaining something technical to people who are not so technical is a very good skill to have. So that's the kind of skill I wanted to hone in on. And I think that's, really boosted my confidence a lot.
Really interesting, really interesting. Civil engineering, when I was studying it at university, it was quite male dominated. So I think you're probably one of the few female civil engineers that I've met.
Wow.
Yes, I think you definitely are one of the few female engineers I've heard. We shared some lectures with civil engineers, and it was a very male dominated, course from recollection. So that is, I guess that for me is my perception of what the industry would be like. Is this true, or
yes?
This is the case?
Yeah, it's still very male dominated. I will never deny that. Yes, it's changing in respect to, there's women on site now. There's women doing civil engineering roles. So I think what people forget is that in construction specifically, it's not just about being on site, builder's bum. That really male dirty stereotype that it has. There's also other roles within offices. There's the environmental side, there's the design side, and there's different roles where they're different, where women's skills and everyone's skills are really much needed. But on site, I've seen much more women than I did maybe when I first started, which is lovely to see, because women, we can do these jobs, and we have the skills, we have the knowledge, and we have the expertise to do whatever we want. So
that's interesting. You've mentioned previously that mentorship is something that's been key in your career development. What resources have you found useful in navigating your career? You mentioned previously about mentorship and the key role it's played in your career development. Are there any other resources that you've used?
Another way that I found navigate my career development is through my institution. So I'm part of the Institution of Civil Engineering, which is the ICE as most people know it. And I'm on a route to get chartered in the next couple of years. In order to get chartered, you need to fill out a number of competencies and attributes. And they give you a list, and you have to kind of fulfill the different criteria. So that's really helped me, because it allows me to see where I may be lacking, the training that I need, or if I need to ask some more help, or if I need some more experiences, or any experiences that I'm lacking. And that allows me to kind of navigate my industry. So for example, if I feel, okay, I need more design experience within civil engineering, then I'll ask my company for the design experience that I need. Or if I need more experience in health and safety, I'll ask for that experiences as well. It allows me to kind of number one, also understand the different departments within my organization as well, and understand especially health and safety is such a massive role within our industry. And I think it's really important to kind of just diverge through them all to understand how the built environment, the building construction industry works in general, and makes you kind of an all-rounded engineer as well. So by the time you finish and get to that stage where you are chartered, you'll have knowledge, maybe not 100% knowledge of all areas, but you'll have some knowledge of all the different sectors in your industry.
Interesting. I think that's one that actually, now that you've mentioned it, it's actually quite a good way to navigate your career, because the expectation for you to become chartered is to have a breadth of experiences in it, as well as depth. So having that as a goal helps you navigate the different sort of competencies that you have to fulfill. So that's a very interesting perspective. Moving on to the final question now, Mimi, what would you say to your younger self? What would you say to younger females, like yourself, who are considering a career in civil engineering? What's your advice?
The advice I give to my younger self, or to anyone who's considering civil engineering or any sort of engineering, is if you don't ask, you don't get. By asking, for example, if you're at work, you can fulfill any skills gaps, knowledge gaps, get the pay rise you want, get the promotion that you're looking for, etc., etc. Another bit of advice I give is to advocate for yourself. Something else that my lecturers told me, my mother told me as well, if you aren't going to big yourself up, other people won't do it for you. So definitely, if you feel like you're doing good work, you feel like you're contributing massively to the team, inform somebody of that. You should be recognized for the hard work you do. Always, if you feel like you're doing good work, really contributing to the team, definitely alert somebody of that, because if you don't advocate for yourself, nobody else will. I remember being told at one point in my career that, oh yes, but you're just doing your job. No, because I feel like in some points I do go above and beyond, and it's like it kind of goes silent, because you don't want to kind of be the one to kind of say, oh yeah, but I'm doing this and I'm doing this. You don't have to do it in a boastful way. There's a tactful way of doing things. And I think it's so important to tell people what you're doing so you do get recognized for what you're doing, because I think it's human nature to want to feel valued in your organization and to get gratification from your organization. But if you do not tell people you're doing that work, you probably won't. So I think that is a big one, to kind of put yourself forward, advocate for yourself, and alert people of the work that you're doing, whether you do that on social media, whether you do that at your company, whether you do that for your review with your manager, but definitely make people alert of what you're doing.
Perfect. I think that's a good point to round up the interview. Thank you very much, Mimi, for
you're welcome.
Here to share your amazing story and inspiring, young, engineering professionals as well as engineering students as well. I know that the future is super bright for you, and I know you're going to go on to do much more amazing things. Thanks to everyone for watching as well. Please share your takeaways in the comment section, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well. Thank you, and until the next time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye.